What's up, guys? Welcome back to episode 5 of Lost Wax on the Big Brown Couch. We just sat down with the national director of production for all the live blocks here throughout the country, but specifically started here at the live block here in Kansas City. We got into the World Cup, we got into the NFL draft, we got into all of the events here in Kansas City. We got into the KC Chiefs, and then everything beyond. And this is going to be a great episode. Cannot wait for you guys to tune in. But before we do it, gotta throw it to that band.
Oh, yes.
Get
Throw
up
it to
from
the
Lost
band.
Wax.
It's the Lost Wax Backstage band, y'all. Woo!
Come on in. We in the green room. Have a seat now. On the big brown couch. It feels good. Come on now. Have a seat now. On the big brown couch. Come on in. We in the green room. Have a seat now. On the big brown couch. It feels good. We in the green room. Have a seat. Lost Wax on the big brown couch.
What up, what up, what up?
What's going on?
It is episode 5 of Backstage with Lost Wax
On the Big Brown Couch.
I'm your girl, Eboni Fondren, a.k.a. Jazzy Lady.
That's right. I'm Patrick Woolam, band leader for Lost Wax. Man, we have an amazing episode. One of my best friends. I've known Jason for going on 15 years or so. So
That's awesome.
I'm excited to talk to him. Just a little background. Jason, he was the front of house for DSS, the KC Live block, many years ago. Was promoted to the production manager for KC Live. Then he was promoted to the entertainment director for KC Live. And now he is the national director for all of the live blocks throughout the
In
country.
the words of the Jefferson, moving on
That's
down.
right. That's right. I cannot wait to get into this with him. Like I said, one of
Yeah.
my closest friends, and we're excited to get this going. So
Give it up, Jason Bradley.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Welcome
Yeah.
to the show.
Yeah, I'm excited.
We are so happy you're here. I'm going to dive right in.
Yeah.
Can you just tell us a little bit about your career journey, what led you into the world of brand partnerships, event production, all those things?
Yeah, for sure. I'll try to keep it brief and go back as far as I can, but relatable to you all. Obviously, I grew up playing music, played the drums in bands for a long time. The typical path, got out of high school where I played jazz band and
Hey, jazz.
all of the stuff, right? I wanted to, of course, be a full-time paid musician, so I got into classic rock bands, all the bar gigs for a while. Eventually got into some tribute bands, moved to Kansas City. And that whole time, though, I noticed all the production people kind of behind the scenes. I don't know, something about me, I was starting to get more interested in being off the stage than on the stage. So that, also that, and I was in a couple of bands where we just sounded like crap live. And I started wondering, why
That's
is
how that
why
builds
is
character,
yeah? I was
man.
like, why does that sound that way?
Fix that, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I remember one time we were on a break and I went to get a beer from the bar, and this low end hum just came out of nowhere and was vibrating the whole room, and it was my kick drum. We didn't have a gate on it, so it just took off, and that's kind of that. Literally, that one situation got me online, starting reading how to fix that. Then I got obsessed.
down the rabbit hole.
Oh yeah, I think I still am in the rabbit hole, honestly. But that kind of got me interested in the production side of things. So I got into the doing sound stuff through that process. But yeah, I started doing sound for other bands because I had accumulated all this equipment, and the bands I was in were playing less and less. And I started realizing I could actually make a little more money doing sound for these other bands. And so I was getting my head was getting kind of pumped up because I was like, it sounds great. I was getting all these compliments. I thought maybe I'm good at this. So yeah, I went down that avenue for a while. Still tried to juggle music and production, but eventually found myself in a situation where I had moved to Kansas City.
And where did you come
Yeah.
from before you
Northeast Missouri.
Okay.
Literally almost the exact corner of the state, a little county called Scotland County, Missouri.
Okay.
Memphis, Missouri, 2,000 people there. No stoplights, no McDonald's, no Walmart.
Small town.
Yeah,
Small
very
town
small
life.
town. Yeah. So I moved to Kansas City. Had a buddy that had just moved here, had just got on the Marines. He'd bought a house and had 3 extra bedrooms. He's like,
Nice.
come check it out, and loved it right away. Eventually linked up with a local production company, DSS. They specialize in big time festival production. They used to do Rock Fest here in KC, but they do Rock on the Range, Rocklahoma, Country Fest, just these big 14, 15, 20,000 person festivals.
Shout out to Joel, by the way.
Oh yeah,
man.
Joel's a evil genius.
Yeah,
Yeah, I got in with those guys and started doing stuff for them. Anywhere from when I first started, I was what they call an A3, which is, basically babysitting, winding some mic cords, maybe every once in a while getting to touch a console.
Yep.
Got to do a lot of cool stuff. I was one of the main audio guys at the Beaumont Club forever back in the day.
Nice.
Man, all right,
Oh
to the
my
Beaumont.
God.
At the Beaumont, man.
Saw so many good
Memories.
shows.
Classics.
Yeah.
Did you ride the bull?
I never got to see the bull, but I had. By the time I was there, the bull was gone.
Oh, really?
But
Okay.
people would still come in and where's the
for
bull?
it, yeah.
But no, so that kind of got me going there, and then I would do sound a lot at PBR, a country bar down in the Power and Light District, like on random weekday nights. And through that connection, I got a phone call one day asking if I'd be interested in being their production manager. So I gladly took that opportunity. Honestly, at that point in my life, I think I've been traveling for the better part of 8 years, almost constantly. And, I think we all know what that's like when you're traveling. You see the people doing normal people stuff, just enjoying a Saturday, like barbecuing, and you're like, oh, I want to do that.
That
They
looks
see you
amazing.
traveling and doing these cool things. They're like, I want to do that. It's,
Grass is always greener.
100%,
as they say,
for
yeah.
sure.
so so I started down there and enjoyed that for a handful of years as a production manager. And eventually got promoted to director of entertainment and production, which I'd always handled from the time I got the production manager job. I'd handled all the event, band booking, all that type of stuff. So really, when I got the director role, it was more of a formality, and I'd been there long enough, and I guess I thought I did a pretty good job. But yeah, and that turned into kind of where I'm at now, where I got another promotion recently. But yeah, as far as my time at Kansas City Live in my career, I'd honestly, I always say it kind of, some people go to college, they're very specific, this is what I want to do. Some people kind of like bounce around through life and ironically enough end up doing what they love. My mom makes fun of me all the time. Not doesn't make fun, but she says, for about 10 years there, she thought, I don't know if this kid's going to amount to anything. He's just kind of here one minute, here the next. But ironically enough, all of that kind of craziness prepared me for what you can say is a career nowadays. So
It really does.
journey.
It's crazy how, like, in this industry, especially like with live audio, a lot of the guys that I've worked with, some of the better sound guys I've worked with, that's, a lot of them didn't go to school for it. They were just so passionate about it and got into it. And I don't know, you just recapping all this just brings me back, because I think that's where I met you, was at PBR bar playing with those country bands back when I was like 20 years old, 21 years old, with Noah Palma and those guys, and Travis Marvin and all them, and John Goolsby. But you had mentioned that promotion, which is kind of the next topic I wanted to bring up. Like you just received a very big promotion, and congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Kind of share with us a little bit what that looks like, because you were overseeing the KC Live block, and now you're, well, tell us about it. What's the new promotion all about?
Yeah, no, it's it's exciting. It's a lot of work, but essentially the company I work for, Live Hospitality Entertainment, they own several concepts that look a lot like Kansas City Live or the Power and Light District across the country. Atlanta, Dallas, Philly, Miami, Orlando, Baltimore, and I'm missing a handful. Ballpark Village in St.
Ballpark
Louis.
Village, Texas.
yeah.
I think to
That's
Texas.
really
Texas
cool.
Live, yeah.
And that's all Cordish, right?
It's all Cordish, yeah. And they've been great to work for. They're family owned, even though the company's gotten, I've been with them 13 years now, and it has gotten massively larger in all those years. It's still great that you can call the owners, and they're a tight-knit family. They've been in business for 100 years.
Yeah.
Started off in kind of like doing like shopping mall type, commercial leasing. So, but no, with them, the promotion now is I'm the live director of production for the entire company. So my main focus is on all of our properties and how our events are executed from a production standpoint, also audio, video lighting, for all of our clubs. So,
So not so much into the booking anymore.
right, right. It still work. I was told when I got this that literally verbatim, Kansas City could never slip. So I'm still very, very involved in Kansas City.
Nice.
Is this home base for you?
This is
then?
home base,
Yeah.
right?
Gotcha. Okay.
And to be honest, I feel like the Power and Light District in Kansas City Live is kind of like a baby of
That's
mine.
your baby, yeah.
'Cause
Oh,
when I-
100%, man.
yeah.
You brought that place up. I've seen the growth in that
Yeah.
in the last 10 years and how many events Lost Wax has played there. And shout out to you for all you've done for us. I mean, bringing us into, you know, the Chiefs Super Bowl parade back in 2020, all of those events, man. You've done so much for it. And it's just like, I mean, I'm so proud of you, man. And it's really excited to see how much you've grown this city and grown this thing. And I mean, no one's more deserving of this job than you are.
What do you feel like is sort of some exciting parts of, you know, the job that you get to do, things you look forward to?
You know, I think for me, it's the instant gratification you get. It's kind of the same way in you know, being a performer as well. But you know, a lot of the stuff that we do, whether it be a big project or an actual event, you know, you put all the parts together and you actually get to see it all play out.
Right.
And I always talk about, you know, let's say someone that works in a factory like the Ford plant, which are great jobs if you can get it, right? And they're pretty hard to get jobs, but you know, they might be working on a door and they get to slap the door on that one truck and here comes the next truck at the door. They never get to see the owner go to the dealership, make the purchase and just be like, you know, I'm so happy that I'm in this truck now. And we get to work in an industry that, you know, man, is it stressful? Hell yeah. Is it a lot of work? Is it the craziest hours ever? 100%. But it fills you back up whenever you've worked on that and you get to see all the smiles on the faces.
You're an hour into the event, and the
Right.
dance floor
You
is
see it
packed.
come to life.
Yeah, people are screaming.
Well,
and
you
then-
know what? Like a great example of that was, you know, because I follow you and all your journeys on social media, and especially with like Club Mosaic, seeing the way that you guys revamped all of that lighting in there, and watching, you know, you were posting like the CAD drawings of how you saw the lighting system, like you designed that, and then seeing, you know, a month or two later, like it actually come to life that opening night, and it was just like. That's got to be an incredible feel, like that. So that to me is like a great example of, you know, watching that in real time. Like,
Sure, yeah,
you know.
vision to reality is
absolutely.
is awesome.
And so speaking of which, like, you know, speaking of Club Mosaic, for those of us that don't know, like, what is Mosaic in the live block?
I feel like most of us here are probably slowly getting out of our club days, so to speak. But
speak for yourself. I'm just kidding.
still in the club.
No, she's not.
Yeah.
No, she's not.
You know what's funny is, though, honestly, Mosaic is like, it's kind of like the club,
Right.
the high end,
Yeah.
you know, if you want to go for like for my opinion, back in the day, not to age myself, but
Yeah,
It's like the celebrity to me. It's
Yeah,
in my
it was-
opinion, it's like if there's celebrities in town and they're going to go out to a dance club, that's the spot that they go to.
yeah, no, 100%. You know, even Christian Brown from, you know, former KU, plays for the Nuggets now.
Yeah.
You know, the Nuggets just got eliminated from the playoffs, and last weekend he's at Mosaic. You know, Saturday night.
Well,
So it's
hey,
like,
shout out to
stuff.
his dad, Dr. Brown. He's my doctor too.
Yeah,
Love
yeah.
him.
Okay.
Love
Dr.
him.
Brown's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So Mosaic is essentially kind of a legendary nightclub. And honestly, these days, I think if a nightclub can make it past 5 years, it almost earns legendary status. You know, Mosaic's been there for 14, 15 years now. And in the past with Mosaic, you know, we've done a couple different rehabs or remodels to where like we'll shift something, they'll redo the walls, the VIP booths and whatnot. But this was the first time where we really stripped it down, opened it up, added square footage, and then laid a ton of money into the production side. And a lot of that comes because, you know, we think these days people that go to nightclubs specifically are looking for more of that wow factor. It's not, you know, just the grab a few drinks, get a VIP table, and dance. Like that's a huge element, but they're looking for the visuals and all the things. And you know, we kind of wanted to double down on that legendary status in the Kansas City market. Which shout out to Eric Coombs, by the way. He's been the DJ there forever. And I think Mosaic's success is mostly due to him because he is a phenomenal networker. He really honestly cares about people's hospitality, like their night and how they enter the room and all that stuff. So he's kind of really the glue there. But no, Mosaic, we put all that effort and time and money into it, and it's just taken back off. And we're not fans of, like, the company I work for does not like to shut down a venue for 3 months, no matter what time
I'm
it
sure.
is.
Yeah.
You can imagine.
Yeah.
And they made a big enough commitment to where they shut it down basically after, what was it, New Year's Eve?
I know that just recently they poured a lot of money into the P&L revamp too, and the live block. Like, you're the perfect person to talk to about like how that process has looked like. I can't remember the exact numbers. You can tell me, but they've dumped a lot of money back into it. What is? You kind of fill us in on some of that.
You know, it's been there now for over 15 years. I forget the exact amount of years now, but it needed some stuff. You know, we needed a new roof on the KC Live Block, which you guys have played a bunch of times. We just needed that. So there goes a couple $1 million because it's a custom everything. And there's only like 2 people in the world apparently that will climb up on that safely to do it. Yeah, and they're not from the United States either. So
wow.
You're not going to catch me doing that. I'll tell you that much.
So yeah, but no, the total investment was $10 million, and it includes almost every venue down there got some kind of revamp.
Nice.
The outside area, we completely gutted a certain section that everyone that comes to concerts will notice this year. It's gotten a little bit bigger, a little more free flow as opposed to some built-ins being there in the past. Kind of doubled down on the theatrical side of things. So we're putting a lot of money into the overhead lighting. So when you walk in, the visuals and kind of how it all feels.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really just kind of a reinvestment after being there and being open for several years. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's really important, especially when you got something that's in the heart of downtown, and then there's so many cool things and so many cool eyes that are on Kansas City and events that are happening, and people want a place to go. They want a place to party, and they want it to feel like it's not, they say you're in the Midwest and Kansas City's a flyover town and all of those things, but it's nice to be able to say, well, we've got this spot. It's got high-end clubs. You've got different genres of clubs.
Got something for everybody.
Something for everybody. And
I spent 5 years working down there full time at the Howl at the Moon for quite some years. But like I always consider the the KC Live Block is like the heartbeat of Kansas City, and especially since the Chiefs dynasty has emerged.
Yeah,
it's become like seeing all the clips on ESPN every year we're in the Super Bowl of just that those are the shots that they get. That's what's running nationally on all the news networks, on everything that's going on. It's the KC Live Block, and that to me is that's got to be a bear to take on.
Well, I think that's the cool thing about it is it has really become, that was the vision that the Quarters family had in mind, was it to become the living room and the heartbeat of Kansas City, and we've had a lot of help along the way with stuff like the Chiefs, but I have countless stories of people that are not from Kansas City that come here, and one that sticks to my mind is a producer for Good Morning America did a site visit, and they're considering shooting a segment on the live stage, and ultimately Union Station got it because of weather. It was that time of year to where they just couldn't trust it. But she made the comment when I asked her if she'd ever heard of Power and Light. She's like, "Yeah, I actually came here one time." She was her brother played college basketball somewhere, and they were playing at the T-Mobile Arena. Yeah. And they went out afterwards, and she was, this lady's from New York City.
Right.
Like, what? And she was impressed with it enough to instantly think of us when it came opportunity to shoot a segment there. So there's a lot of stories like that. I think it really has grown into that national presence to where when I do travel now, shockingly, a lot of people know exactly what I'm talking about because they have seen it on TV. Yeah. We got FIFA coming up next year, and the Sports Commission, the president of the Sports Commission, or CEO, I think is her title, along with FIFA, have credited our watch parties in the Live Block as one of the major factors of the city getting FIFA.
Oh, absolutely.
Excellent.
That's
so
it's
like
explode next year.
So, yeah.
Do you think how do you sort of foster those connections? Because a lot of people are coming in and out. A lot of people are coming quite fast. They'll come in and out for a day or two, and you're meeting a lot of people, probably shaking a lot of hands. And how important is it to you to sort of build that reputation as a connector and making sure that you keep that communication open, or that that relationship open, so that future events maybe want to come back?
Yeah, I think it really comes down to hospitality in the moment. I'll be the first one to admit that I'm not a great networker in the classical definition of, you've met those networkers that are they touch base with you for no reason, just to stay in touch constantly.
Yeah.
Remember your name all the time.
Yes. I'm not natural.
Terrible.
Right. Yeah.
There is a special art form to doing that, and I agree with you. I'm trying to learn how to get that, but it's so hard to do.
Right. Yeah. Ask my family or all my close friends. We're not hitting each other up all the time, but no, I think that when it comes to kind of those relationships with those big brand partners, or with people with FIFA or the local sports commission, it's all about kind of how you treat each other and what you can do for each other in certain times. There's a lot of times to where the sports commission wants to do a press conference, and they're announcing, maybe the extension of the Big 12 basketball tournament, or maybe we're getting a women's NCAA soccer championship here, and they choose the KC Live stage because we've fostered that relationship one. Two, we're always very easy to work with, meaning we've got the built-in infrastructure. All they have to do is show up.
Right.
Like we will provide a malt box or a media box for all the media to plug into. So it's just making things easy. And it's like the easier things are, the more likely we're all to work with each other. And we've had, a lot of those situations in the past. The Big 12 is another good example of a relationship that's just grown and grown and grown to where now I think it's locked up in KC through maybe 2031 or something like that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And that's all been because of the synergy between the Power and Light District and T-Mobile Center and Big 12. We all work as one as much as we possibly can. It's not, it's not a fight over revenue.
Right.
It's
There's
like
a common goal. Everybody's working towards it.
Yeah.
Flexibility.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel like something like that, you have to all work together in that sense, because it's the only way you're going to execute events like that to the highest levels, for everybody to be on the same page. And, we're a team and this is what we're doing. And
it sounds corny, but if you really think about the guest first, you know what I mean? If you literally think about what's best for the guest, if you always think through that mentality, the money, the success will usually come following it. But if you think money first, or if you think selfishly first, like at the end of the day, the people paying the bills, the guests are probably going to be the ones that suffer the most.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, it's always like, I'm kind of obsessed with that. And that's kind of the key to my success downtown at Power and Light District is, when I came into a fairly not great situation when it came to concerts and how we were presenting artists, I realized it wasn't a great experience for the guest. So that really got me hyped up. And then I started reading reviews coming in. Venue doesn't sound great. Venue doesn't look that great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh man, and I took it personal.
Yeah.
So
it's
that's
Midwest
kind of
mentality too, man. The approach to it, and not because it would be, to me, the way I see it, it would be very easy for somebody in your role taking on what you're taking on to naturally have an inflated ego as these events come on and you're booking these big things, but you've never come across that way. You're just not that guy. Yeah. And I think that shows through a lot in your success and the way you do things is it is the Midwest mentality on the highest scale and the highest level of production. And it shows, man. And I think it shows a lot to, it's kind of a nod to your success in this thing is just, take that on and be that guy.
You know what's weird is on the drive over here, I was thinking to myself, I don't know why I was thinking this, but thank you. I think everyone doesn't want to have an ego or think they do have one, but at the same time, I do think that people do appreciate being recognized, and for me, all I want to be recognized as is like in my career, meaning and that's why people want to be recognized, because you can't really get anywhere in your career if you're not getting some form of recognition. Someone's got to be like, hey, that guy's doing a good job, or that girl's doing a good job, right? Or else you're just kind of stuck. So I was thinking on the way over here, what's weird is as much as I understand that's a thing when it comes to careers and business and whatnot, I'm still so bad at when people try to give me compliments.
Oh my gosh.
It's just but I think some people eat it up for me. I'm like, thank you. Thank you.
It's a sign of humility, though.
Exactly.
And that's
and
I guess I'd rather be on that side. Right?
Well, here's another good question, just kind of off what we've been talking about. Here's if you were to give advice to somebody that's trying to break into the live events industry or brand partnership world, what we've been talking about, what's one piece of advice that you would give somebody that's trying to get into something that you're doing?
Yeah. I would say, break it in two, because I think if you want to get in the event business, there's a very clear path on that one that's honestly perhaps a little bit easier, and that is just get going. I mean, even in the touring world, whether it be people on the stage or off the stage, so many people just started doing something, and because of the networking and then learning, some people in the touring industry, and it's almost everyone that's gotten somewhere there, it's all been because of relationships opposed to a piece of paper with a degree on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think on the brand kind of partnership side, it's a little bit different. I feel like, most people that are really successful in that world that specifically focus on that, I work with an amazing person, Sarah, and she oversees all of our commercial business and brand partnerships. And she is the one that has the relationships that she's fostered over years and years and years. And she went the traditional route. She had a college degree, started off, in a smaller level arena, and now she's taken on even more. But so I think when it comes to events, it's kind of strange. Even in the touring world, let's say you go to school and you get some kind of degree in audio engineering, a lot of times you're starting off bottom of the barrel anyway. You get 0 passes You know, you might be the most educated sound guy ever or sound person ever, and you're probably going to start at the very bottom.
Yeah,
doing
you have no lived experience.
Right.
You got to earn that.
Right.
Like there's, I agree
It's
with
very
that.
relatable across different industries too. You know, starting out in the jazz scene, I wear those hats and not knowing anybody in town and going to jam sessions and cutting your teeth and
100%, yeah.
I didn't go to school for jazz music, but now I've been doing that for so long.
Now you're the
It's
face of
so
Kansas City
parallel
Jazz,
because
pretty
it's
much.
like you do have to cut your teeth. You do have to sort of pay your due, so to speak.
100%,
And, what do you say to sort of the younger generation? I'm not going to pinpoint a specific Gen Z or millennials, but there's who sort of are into the instant gratification of just whether it be
that's a whole
through social
thing.
media or through and they just want it and they want it now.
Yeah.
Basically, any advice for those? Because there's a lot of times where I've been in a situation where I've spoken to someone in the younger generations, and they're very impatient.
Yeah.
And really just kind of want it to do it their way and do it now. kind of
Yeah.
thing.
I would think, it's kind of goes back to the same thing of just get to doing something. It can happen pretty quick. I think these days, especially with the younger generation, I'm going to sound like an old man when I say this, but I've interviewed some people for various jobs. And, if one of the very first questions that comes up from the person being interviewed is they want to talk about work-life balance, I'm not suggesting that where I work doesn't have a good amount of that. But at the end of the day, work-life balance is up to the person, not the employer. You know what I mean?
That's a great point.
So you have to figure out how to manage your time. But with that said, I think in our world of events, whether it be private, wedding, corporate, public, whatever, you've got to just work your butt off for a couple years.
Yeah.
If you ask my wife, my hobby, even to this day a little bit, is work. I'm fairly obsessed with it, and I'm okay with it, and I know it. I've got to have my sense of accomplishment is usually getting something done at work that day or making some kind of impact, small or big or whatever. So as far as like the younger generation or younger people that want to kind of get into this world, I think it really just comes down to, might have to, this is going to sound such like an old man, you might have to put the TikTok away for a little bit,
Yeah.
and
Focus on you.
And focus on you and focus on work. And, we all know 10, 12, 14-hour days isn't an uncommon thing in our world. But man, like I said, it'll pay off because there's just not a lot of jobs out there, and especially a lot of people that love being on social media. They love it because of the feedback they're getting and that dopamine hit from the likes and the clicks and whatnot.
Yeah.
Honestly, like we kind of thrive off the same thing. We're not getting likes and clicks, but you can literally see it happening right there in front of you, which is honestly way better than a stranger somewhere hitting like.
And if it's something you are passionate about, it's that should be the last thing. It's like build your craft, like prove your worth, build your craft. Again, this is an old school mentality, and I grew up on both sides of it. I was a younger millennial that grew up prior to the internet into like experiencing the internet through my early teenage years, and I remember what life was like before. It was like chase down likes on Facebook and stuff. But yeah, there is something to be said about that with like showing kids like, if you're passionate about this, go out and prove it. Like put in the extra hours to prove yourself, because this is an industry that is not instant gratification. And it is like a bunch of people around you that are so passionate about what they're doing. You got to prove your passion and prove your worth before you start moving your way up into it. And
I wonder what would happen if for like 2 weeks the entire world had to roll back to dial-up internet.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, it would fall apart so fast. It would be
That
DEFCON
is funny.
5.
It would be.
I have a question. Now that you're sort of in this different position where you get to manage over the other locations, what are some sort of like unique things that you've seen in some of the other live cities?
Every city does things differently. And one of the biggest lessons I've learned in that is we try to share successes across all the different properties. If you're doing for like a football watch party, if you're doing some kind of contest or stage activation that really goes over well in your city, we want to share that information. Well, one thing I've realized through that is, let's just use Philly as an example. What people in Philly love does not always translate in KC. And I'm sure the other way, but because I'm consider myself an expert on the KC market, they do some stuff and I was seeing email like, oh, we just did this weekend. It was great. And I just know for a fact that's not going to work in Kansas City. So I think learning, the different kind of baked in stuff of different markets that are wildly different, especially for people that are really kind of born and raised in those markets. I mean,
Right.
Philly and Baltimore might share some similarities, but, it's not going to be similar to anything that you're going to see in Texas or in Missouri. So I think that's one kind of interesting thing I've learned and I'm continuing to learn. And as I get to travel a little bit more now too, that's coming into play a lot more often.
When you were saying how, you've seen different things that work in other cities, but may not necessarily work, in Kansas City or someplace else. And how important is it to have that sort of knowledge that you can't plan everything from a one-size-fits-all sort of mentality when planning events? And what do you think is something that maybe people often overlook when they're doing that kind of thing?
Yeah, there is a little bit of kind of figuring out what demographic age, specifically are you trying to pull in for a particular event, but at the same time, I think in a market like Kansas City, especially where we're a bit of a melting pot, and especially if you go down to Power and Light District on a Saturday night, you really see it in actual work. But I think for in my opinion, one of the things that often gets overlooked is kind of the stuff that you don't really think about when it comes to events in general. And one thing I always like to point out is like how it starts. How are people going to get into the event? I think I just went. We probably multiple people probably did, but I went to like a Savannah Bananas game over the weekend.
Oh man, I wish I could have gone.
And
to
it was
so
awesome.
Fun. Looked like so much fun.
It was so great. But you know what? The parking guy gave me the wrong parking pass, and I had paid for like the best parking I could get, so I had to park further away. And then the line, they were doing like a single file line to get in, which the Royals normally don't do. There was the Savannah Bananas doing that. So I'm automatically in a funk because it started off so bad, and now they have to fight to get me back, and that's how I look at it. So if you start off an event, and it can be a wedding, if the wedding planner didn't think about people's parking access and how they were going to physically get to the wedding space, you might have a bunch of pissed off guests showing up.
How to find your table easily.
How to find your
the
table.
seating chart isn't
Yes.
legible.
Yeah,
or-
we live in that world a lot. Yeah.
Right. It's the logistics, I mean, by the time we're getting to the entertainment side of a lot of these events, everyone's a little bit loosened up and they're ready to have fun and hopefully forget about the bad stuff in the past. But yeah, I think some people forget about those little tiny details that can really start people off or derail, because honestly, you can have the same reverse situation getting out of the event, or maybe, an unsafe environment, leaving an event. So I think you have to think about all those layers and kind of become a little bit obsessive about it. You've got to red team it when you're in a team meeting. You've got to constantly, you need one person to kind of play the bad guy role or the bad person role and be like, wait a minute, this all sounds great, but what if? And even though you might roll your eyes and be like, oh, that's never going to happen.
But if it does happen,
If it does happen,
and
we've got a plan now.
And that's a great point too, because especially in your industry and what you're doing, so many people are traveling from other states and other countries to come to Power and Light Live Block. And if the first thing that they encounter is a problem or something that's an inconvenience, it's gonna be the first thing and the first taste in their mouth for the entire time. So that's a great point.
I love
spending
that.
money,
Yeah, it does translate across all events. And I think a lot of times people focus on that sweet spot of what it's, we're going to this concert or this wedding or that show. And, and all they think about is, we just want to have this event, and get people in the door. But like you said, those little
Attention
things,
to
the
detail,
logistics,
man.
the details, so important. So love that. All right. So now, my favorite part. Let's do some rapid fire. Okay. I'm going to throw some questions at you, and just first thing that you can think of that comes up. Favorite concert to date that you've had at KC Live?
I'm going to have to go with Lainey Wilson. I'm going to say that because it was right before she already had blown up a little bit. It was right before she won every award you could possibly win as a country female artist. And we had to kind of fight to get that one done. So yeah, I would say Lainey Wilson.
Cool. Okay. All right. Most unhinged, save your ass kind of a moment.
I would say having some cable issues during a Royals World Series run watch party. Wasn't anything on our end. and I won't say the cable provider that we utilize, but they were having some issues, and it kept blacking out, and we had about 6,000 people watching. And of course, in that moment, they think it's you.
Oh, right, of course.
And it's like, how do you tell it's not us? But I remember having, I felt like my heart was going to explode, and eventually I think we switched over to DirecTV.
All right. Craziest thing you've ever seen at a live event?
Oh, well, you know.
I know you've seen a lot.
Yeah, I've seen it.
I know you've seen a lot.
One of the craziest
One
things.
of the craziest things.
You don't have to name names either.
No, I'm actually, this is a good name drop here, actually. Years ago, we had the band The Neighborhood headline. And a little, well, I should say little, an unknown hip hop artist at the time was their direct support. His name was Travis Scott.
Whoa.
And he was a wild man. He rolled up in a all black van, of course, like literally doors open, smoke rolls. He was on the stage for his 45-minute set for about 4 minutes. He spent the entire time out in the crowd. I look up, he's on top of one of our beer carts. And this thing's shaking. All I think about is like, this guy's gonna fall. And then obviously, let alone, he blows up into the #1 hip hop.
I love that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before they were famous.
Right. He's always been crazy, always been wild.
All right. How many cakes did Steve Aoki throw? Year?
I think we did 12 this year, and then he made it very clear that he wanted 20 next year.
Yes.
And
Next
they're
year,
not,
I love
edible.
it.
They're
Next
nasty. Yeah.
They're disgusting.
Yeah,
All
they're
right.
disgusting.
We want to talk about, did you open the draft bottle that we got you after you got us the NFL draft?
I finally popped it, and I forget what the occasion was. I poured 2 drinks, one for me and one for the wife, and then I sealed her back up, and I want to get that baby out on the good days.
That's right. That's right. Which shout out to you, because for those of you guys that don't know, Jason Bradley was solely responsible for getting Lost Wax booked on the NFL house band draft gig. And
Oh my
we're very
gosh.
appreciative for that, man.
So great.
Real quick, let's talk about some of the draft stuff for a minute.
Yeah.
Let's go into kind of
How crazy was that, man?
That was a cool thing for KC, and obviously a lot of cool things that came. Laney Wilson came out of that. That was the draft that really
Awesome.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it was really probably one of the better, more enjoyable years of my career anyway, and obviously great for the city.
Now, obviously,
So many
we
questions.
were playing,
Yeah.
the draft stage that night, but I know you guys had a ton of events going at P&O Live. So Laney Wilson was one of them. Was that night one? Or?
That was, I think, night 1, and then the entire everybody from the Chiefs showed up. Literally, Mahomes and Travis, everyone, they were on side stage. Travis famously now went up on stage after Laney. She left the stage, show was over, and he grabbed the mic, and I think he did a little Josh Turner number.
Oh my gosh! Yes.
Lock the doors and drop the lights down low.
Oh, baby, lock them doors and
Yes.
turn the low. Yeah.
Yes, wearing his like $3,000 Gucci outfit.
Yes. Well, that's like pure Travis.
Oh, it was,
Oh, yeah.
it was money.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Now, I know that you've developed a relationship with Mahomes and Travis and those guys over the years. I mean, talk about those dudes for a little bit. You know?
I used to live in the same building. Travis, for a long time, lived downtown. We lived in the same building. This is before he was starting to blow up. But I actually met Travis on his injured year. We'd go grab dinner together. No one knew who he was at the time. And literally, I'm not making this up or just saying this to be nice. One of the most humble human beings you'll ever meet. I think he's still that way. If you ask me,
seems like it.
Used to tell me if I ever needed to borrow his truck, just let him know. He's just a
Totally
great
checks
dude.
out.
Yeah, and with Pat, same thing. Like he would kind of come downtown his first rookie year, and they would ride the mechanical bull. And I think we always just treated him like
He's a
people.
PBR boy.
I think that's-
sure,
Most
man.
people
He's
You,
Texan.
you hit on something, and I think that is kind of like a really cool thing about Kansas City in general. Like, there are certain places you can go and people will just go crazy for
100%.
celebrity,
Yep.
right? And I feel like for the most part, we like welcome people in, especially if you're from here, but like, you're like one of the homies. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, you know what I mean? And no one's going all crazy and
Right.
falling all over. You know, and I've noticed that in sort of like a lot of different circles when like, you know what I mean? Like when celebrities come around, it's like Kansas City's, we kind of want you to just come here, have a good time, eat some barbecue.
Look,
you know what I
man,
mean? Like,
I have
and
a
just
the-
have a good
Yeah,
time.
exactly.
Would you agree?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was funny. I was out in Scottsdale, Arizona a couple years ago. I have family out there. We were visiting, and my wife and I went to like a fancy steak restaurant. And our waiter, typical, where you guys from? Kansas City. You Chiefs fans? Like, yeah, we have season tickets. And he goes, "Is it true that like the players just like go out and about, just like hang out, and no one like bothers them?" And I said, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Kansas City, man. Like, I'm not saying that they don't. There's
You've
some
always
people
got
in there,
people, but for
Right.
the most part, the way these people are, and to be honest, I have a theory. that's why Travis landed Taylor Swift, because here, look, Taylor Swift, biggest superstar in the world, but she, to me, comes off as the most down-to-earth, just natural person.
Sure.
And I feel like Travis's energy is the same way, and I feel like it's just the perfect storm for the two of them to get together. He's a Midwest mentality, Cleveland Heights, Midwest guy. With, you know, even though she's like, to me, it just seems that way. And I'm like, I feel like that's the way that has always worked out so well. And she is our queen, and we will protect her at all costs.
100%. And real quick Travis story, just to kind of give you an example of,
yes, please.
of who
Give
he
us
is.
all of the Travis stories.
He, I don't know how many years ago this was, it's pre-Taylor, but post Travis being a superstar of the NFL, you know. I get a text from him during the Big 12 basketball tournament. And this is before his mom, Donna, blew up too, and she's a celebrity of her own right now. But he texted me and he goes, "Hey, could I possibly show my mom the green room backstage?" He sincerely just wanted to show his mom the green room. And I thought, yeah, sure, bring her back. And a couple, you know, Stephen St. John from 18 Radio was back there, and, you know, they all just talked for a little bit. I thought that was so interesting.
On the
like,
KC Live stage?
yeah. And we have one little green room back there, which is nothing fancy. I thought, but he was like, first off, he was polite, and he asked, and he just didn't like kind of walk through thinking he
Like,
could.
I'm Travis Kelce.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and that really just sums him up. Maybe he asks a little less these days. I know I would if I was him, but but no, he's a super cool, down to earth guy.
Well, look, man, our experience at the draft, and this is my one Travis Kelce story, was, you know, he came back. He was backstage at the draft. We were, you know, busy doing the draft stuff that day, on and off stage as a band. And he came back there and had Jason was with him. Both his parents were with him. But it's us, all of Lost Wax, Travis in the middle, which, by the way, you don't understand the size of that dude until you're
Oh, I
standing
remember because I was right next to him, and
Yeah.
Shelby was real mad, and I was like, "Hey, Travis,
Ebony and I were standing right next to him.
how you doing?"
And in the back corner of this photo is just Jason, just like in his flip-flops, just like looking like, you know, Ed and Donna are sitting right, and they shook our hands. They were so kind, so polite, and it was just like the most wholesome. They were so kind, each one of them, and like he shook everybody's hand in the band, and I'm like, that's just the KC Midwest way, man. That's like that will never leave me.
Yeah. Speaking of the NFL draft, can I tell the people about the Lost Wax NFL draft story?
Yes,
Sure.
absolutely. Please,
Tell the people.
please.
You would talk about networking and just staying in touch with people.
Yeah.
So C3 Productions, they typically book everything NFL, and I'm talking, you know, whether it be a Travis Scott or whatever, they usually do all of that. And I got a phone call. The guy had gotten my number through someone else. Get a phone call and told me who he was and said, "I'm looking for a band to play the NFL draft." And I qualifying questions, right? I'm like, is this the draft? Like the live on air broadcasted draft? And he's like, "Yes." And so being the production nerd I am, I had to ask him certain questions to kind of get a better understanding. Because if he chose the bands I'm going to recommend, obviously I've got a reputation here on the line too.
Yeah.
But honestly, I gave him a couple different bands, but it was like, but here's who I would go with. And the biggest reason was because, you know, obviously professionalism, all that good stuff. But you guys know now, the NFL draft being a live broadcast, it's not like, hey, play 10 songs, take a break. You know, there is a literal live director telling you guys when to start and stop.
In your ears.
In your
the entire
ears.
time, yes.
And there's not a lot of bands that can literally say, hey, cut it in 3, 2, and be able to do it musically, right? So that's kind of working with you guys in the past on a lot of other different stuff, and knowing that you guys do big corporate things too, to where there's similarities. I really told him, like, this is about the only one I would actually go with because of the technical difficulties of something that huge and complex.
Yeah.
So that's
Well,
all
first off, man, I cannot thank you for that recommendation enough. I will never, to this day, you giving me that phone call that night, because, you know, you called me and you were like, "Hey, these guys just hit us up for the NFL draft. I put your name in the hat. Just want you to know." And I was like, "Is this real life?" And he's like, "It sure is." And I hung up the phone and I called Chris immediately and I was like, "Are you sitting down?" And he's like, "Yes." I was like, "This isn't for real yet, but Jason Bradley just threw our name in the hat to play the NFL draft." And he's like, "Whatever we have to do for Jason Bradley, we're going to do for Jason Bradley."
Yeah, thanks for the new car. No, I'm joking.
Well, look, man, I just want to personally thank you on behalf of us and all of Lost Wax.
Yes.
For sure.
How much that changed the trajectory of our band and kind of our direction and our vision. Not only did that take us to a new level here in Kansas City, that fed into us landing the contract with HBO when we got on for Second Chance Stage. That has opened so many doors for us, and honestly, it all stems back to you, man. And from the bottom of my heart, I cannot thank you enough for considering Lost Wax and letting us be a part of that, man. Like, that means so much to us.
My pleasure. And like I said, I think some of that's networking. It's connections, it's relationships. But I don't care how much I like people or a person. Like, I'm not gonna recommend a bad product. You know what I mean? So you guys had the product to kind of match the networking relationship. So I knew confidently that if they were to go through with it, that my reputation would stay intact.
Well,
so good.
Appreciate you.
I appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely.
Kansas City-based rapid-fire questions. Ebony, throw the first one.
Royal Stadium.
Got to get a new one. It's got to be downtown. The K's done, and downtown's the only answer. Otherwise, stay at the broken K. I don't know. Great. The K's great. I shouldn't talk crap at the K. Love the K. Downtown baseball has to happen.
Where?
Agreed.
Washington Square Park, maybe somewhere along Troost. There's a lot of underdeveloped land in that area, but man, it's got to be downtown. If you've ever been to anywhere that has downtown baseball, it is amazing. It will be the absolute best fan experience possible. And
I will say, when we did a gig in St. Louis last year
Yes.
at the KC Live, that was right out the back door to the and I thought, man, is this cool.
Yeah.
It was cool.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, the Land Bridge.
Land Bridge.
The Land Bridge, is that the, is that the one that they're
That's
redoing?
supposed to
Right
be,
across
there's
over, what is that?
a highway pass called 670, and it's kind of like a connected
big interchange downtown.
kind of downtown
That
area,
Land
and they're
Bridge,
thinking of
pitching over the top of it.
building like this land
Entertainment
bridge
thing, right?
across it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's, hey, listen, anytime we can keep something old and turn it into something new, I'm a big fan of. I think it's cool. I know that they're having, it's such a unique concept that, of course, I'm sure banks and donors aren't exactly lined up to just hand over the money, so it's taking a little bit longer than what it probably should. But anytime we can convert something old and cool like a bridge into something more usable, sounds cool to me.
All right, your take on the World Cup 2026.
World Cup's going to be amazing. I'm lucky enough now in the new position to where 3 cities that I have a say in, Philly, Dallas / Arlington, and KC, are all host cities.
Nice.
So we've already long ago actually started all kinds of planning, and I think it's going to be a big deal for KC.
Awesome.
Cool. 18th and Vine.
18th and Vine, such a cool area. I feel like they've tried a little bit of everything. I'm not exactly sure what they need to get it to the next level. I know they used to have a jazz fest, and I think that kind of went away for a little bit. But it has so much unique history. I know at one time there was talk about the stadium going there. Glad that's not happening because sorry. Gotta let it go. Let it go.
I tried to.
No.
My face was over here like,
Getting her worked up.
Yeah.
I was like,
A lot of allergies over there in 18th and Vine.
okay, wait. Nope.
Comes in threes. This is a good beer opportunity, actually.
Yeah, perfect.
They come in 3s. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Sorry. Nope.
Not there yet.
There she is. Right into the mouth on your jacket.
You got to figure out how to keep that in there somehow.
Keep that in the bloopers,
No.
please.
Yeah.
Can we keep that in? Thank you. Thank
Hey,
you.
we're over here asleep.
Yeah.
It's just sleazing.
Anything else that you want to add about what do people need to know about Kansas City?
I think the World Cup is going to be a huge opportunity. At least it better be. We need to treat it as kind of that opportunity to take KC to the next level. If you look down at like the Power and Light District and the towers that Cordish has built over the last decade plus, 60% of the people that move into those buildings are not from Kansas City, meaning people are moving into our market, which is what we need more of. Some people kind of like the size of KC. They don't want to grow. They kind of want to do the same old, the status quo.
Some people, meaning the people that live here.
Yeah.
Old school.
People afraid of change.
Exactly. Yeah. They didn't want they didn't want the new airport, but they love the new airport.
They love the new
Exactly.
airport. Yeah, exactly.
Trust me, you don't have to preach to
right,
me.
I
You and
know.
I are on the same page
there,
on that.
yeah. But no, I think to get to that next level, if you think about Austin, Texas, had a huge come up, still kind of in their come up. Nashville, Tennessee, like we could be on that level, but you have to leverage these big, huge things like a World Cup, which, by the way, Kansas City isn't usually a type of city that gets that huge of an opportunity.
Yeah.
We're a very small market that by far the smallest market to get one in 2026. So I think we got to be on the national level. We got to parlay that into something bigger, because
Absolutely.
anyone that actually you get them here, once they're here, they're like, I get it.
So
I get
many,
it,
so
you know?
many times. Because honestly, with the World Cup, though, it makes sense. We've got the women's soccer stadium. We got Sporting Kansas City. You know what I mean? Like, we've got
It is, dude. Honestly, it is.
world class.
It's becoming a big soccer town, yeah.
facilities. Like, we're a soccer town as much as we are a baseball and a football town. So I mean, I think it's awesome.
Yeah, shout out to Brittany and the
One more.
for bringing that.
Big Slick.
Big Slick that's something that's grown too and been so cool to watch. Jeremy at DSS works with them and handles all the production.
Yep.
And they don't have to do that level of production. At the end of the day, they're trying to raise money for a great cause, and the more and more celebrities that they get to sign up for it and show up is so amazing. But they could literally just light up the stage and throw out some LED screens and call it a day.
Yeah.
But they
Go
treat it
all
like
out.
all
Hey, I
out.
do have to give a quick plug and a shout out, because some of our Lost Wax crew will be at Big Slick for the 3rd year in a row.
yeah.
Our boy Clay Johnson, who's off camera right now, is going to be playing bass. Our boy Mark Lowry is going to be playing keys. Tyler Shirelli is he's been the band director with Logan Mize and them there. He's part of our camp, so we're always honored to have our crew as a part of that. And obviously, it's just it's a staple for
So
Kansas
cool.
City. And man. So I think we covered
Jason,
it.
man,
Dude.
thank you so
Yeah,
much for
absolutely.
coming out and hanging out
Thank
with
you
us
so
here
much.
backstage
Sure.
on the big brown couch. It's been really cool to kind of pick your brain and just get to know you a little bit one-on-one. So we appreciate
man,
that. Thank you so much.
As a friend of yours for all these years, man, thank you for coming in and doing this and just being a part of our city and growing our city in the same direction that we're trying to grow it, man. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
So,
It's been a fun time.
Thank you guys for tuning in and watching Backstage with Lost Wax. My name's Eboni Fondren.
Patrick Woolam, we
And
love
we
y'all.
are out. Let's
see you
throw
later.
it back to the Bay, y'all. Hey, 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 hey.